I think that this is kind of a hard transition. There are some strategies that we can use for this one. And remember, our job is always, no matter where the transition appears in the sentence, it's always to read both the sentence that contains the transition and the sentence that comes before. So we might start thinking just about, positives and negatives. What are we saying about this art here? With its ends tapering into points, much of the slender 53-inch curve appears suspended in the air above its marble base. So it's slender, it's suspended, they say even in the previous sentence, graceful, right? Tapering into points. This is definitely some sort of positive description of the statue. More than just a visually arresting sculpture, Bird in Space was responsible for changing how the US government recognizes art. This also seems positive. So this is where this gets a little tricky. That would probably mean that we're going to eliminate choice C. But watch here, this is a little weird. If we're really thinking about what's going on, the word therefore is a cause and effect. But they're not saying that because it's beautiful, the US government used it as this way of understanding art. Those are not related events. So this therefore is very, very strong. Then actually kind of means the same thing as therefore. Both of these are words that kind of mean so, and that might help us eliminate them both, because we know if they're supposed to be kind of the same thing, then they can't both be right, because how would we know the difference? So it's tricky because then kind of has that element of time, but in this case it seems to have that more cause and effect, right? Because of this, then this. So maybe that helps, but in both cases these are not events that are meant to be cause and effect. So that gets rid of A and D, and then that leaves us with B, which you can pretty much always cross this out. At any rate is kind of like a fancier way of saying right? It's what we say when we don't know what to say. At any rate is kind of a very bad segue into the next thought. It's not a transition at all. It's just like a random kind of lead in. It doesn't connect anything. So that's going to be wrong too. And now we've got a problem, obviously. We've eliminated all the answer choices. And this is why this one is so tricky. It ends up being that the one we probably didn't think would be right is right. This contrast word, this thing that kind of means but. So what's going on here? How is it possible that we have a contrast if both of the sentences are positive? Well, this is where our dumb summaries can get a little smarter when we're noticing trouble, right? Start with the dumb summary, see how far it takes you, but if you are starting to sense it's not working or it's not enough, then you might need to refine your process. Most of the time the dumb summary is going to be enough, but on these hardest ones, well, strategies sometimes fail and we have to be deeper thinkers and hopefully save points by being a little smarter. So what's happening here is that we are commenting on the beauty of the statue, okay? So they're saying it's really good looking. It's a nice, pretty statue. Then they're saying, well, more than being beautiful, this art is good because of what it did for the government and how the government recognizes art. So there's your contrast. They're saying, yeah, this is so beautiful, this sculpture. But it's more than that. It's more than just beautiful. It's really important historically for this legal reason. So there you heard me say but, and that's the key, is they're kind of saying that the thing they just said about the beauty is not really that important. So it's definitely positive, both of the things that they're saying, but they're trying to be dismissive of the first point. Not to say it's not beautiful, but just to say it's more important than just about how it looks. It's tricky. It's really, really tricky. So if you got this wrong, I wouldn't beat yourself up over it. But this is why on the SAT, what we're really hoping for in writing is a 35 out of 40 as our score. If you learn the rules and use the strategies and are consistent and you're following instructions and not falling for traps, you can consistently get a 35 out of 40 because this section is that predictable. But, a couple questions won't be that predictable. They'll kind of defy our strategies in certain ways, or they'll really challenge them. And maybe there's an obscure rule that even if we studied for a long time, we might not have come across yet. So for those other 5 points, a little bit of luck is going to be involved. And so this to me is one of those good luck questions. Do the best you can, kind of maybe sense that something is a little off, and hopefully that kind of nudges you in the right direction. But if you're following the strategies, I totally get why this one would be something you get wrong. It's okay. Don't completely change your strategy just because of one really weird, hard question. The strategies worked all the other times. You're only watching this video because of the one random time it didn't work.